Alrighty, welcome to the pre-modern deck list building session with JP Lamp here. As you might know me from around town, the Magic community here in Chicago, Milwaukee, and Madison. Just kind of a quick rundown on my background. If you've never met before, I've been playing Magic ever since Tempest era. Fun story, I actually got some cards at a trading event at school. We were in 6th grade, and some friends actually brought some Magic cards to trade to barter with in our little market changing, exchanging kind of situation. It was super fun. I was pretty much hooked on Magic ever since. Played a ton in middle school. Actually started clubs in middle school. Played a bunch in high school. Played a lot in Madison and college. Then took some breaks here and there, and then kind of recently got back into things down here in Chicago. So as you kind of see here on our front screen is going to be our sponsors. I'm actually a huge art nerd. So there's some of these cool artworks I've got some of my friends. I got RypieMTGAlters, does a lot of really cool stuff for me. As you can see up the top there, some Dark Rituals and some Polluted Deltas, some Bloodstained Mires. And my friend Star, Is It Star Magic, or Star Is It Magic, kind of depending on what social media is. She has some really cool things. Both are really awesome and exciting people to work with. I'm definitely glad I have a chance to partner with them on a lot of the cards I play. I actually prefer using altered cards because it helps support artists and it's a little bit different than actual foils because foils crimp, etc. But I really wanted to get into the heart of things today. The first deck we want to break down for our first ever video is actually going to be a fun little combo deck. So let me go ahead and grab that and get that all set up here. As you can see here, I'm pulling out the deck to get all set up, kind of walk you through everything. So this deck is actually called ProsBloom. A lot of it is actually set up to an awesome combo. You have 4 Cadavers Bloom, which actually reads, as you can see here, just remove a card in your hand from the game, add BB or GG to your mana pool. And you also have the card Squander Resources. This card is actually fantastic as well. It's sacrifice a land, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool that land could produce. And then it goes with the fun kind of combo part is actually Prosperity. Blue and an X, each player draws X cards. And a really cool way to get a ton of mana is actually to play cards such as Natural Resources. So you actually get Cadaverous Bloom, Squander Resources into play. And so it's actually a natural balance, not natural resources. Sacrifice a bunch of your basics to the Squander Resources, play the natural balance, get 5 more basics, get 10 more mana, play a Prosperity, right? And then what's the end game there? Actually to cast a huge Drain Life. And I know you're thinking, oh, look at this deck already, this guy has promos and all that stuff, he's already got a whiteboard. Yeah, well, when I was, in 6th grade and built this, we really didn't think much about blackboard, whiteboards, whatever. I could only find a Prosperity at my LGS. But also saying, hey, why are a bunch of these cards signed? Well, they're actually signed by the one and only world champion, Mike Long. Funny story there was, I went out, built the deck, kind of like I saw a lot of the world champ decks being built, decided to build this deck myself. I actually reached out to him on the internet, which is more or less new back then, pretty crazy to do so. Asked him if he would sign it. He said, sounds good. Gave me his address, I sent it to him. About 3 weeks later, I'm at the LGS talking about how my deck hasn't come back yet. People are like, wait, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, I sent a deck to get signed. I'm like, oh, what do you do? Like, I made a ProsBloom deck and sent it to Mike Long. Everyone starts laughing their head off. Why is it? Because we're talking about people who are also former world champions in Madison, another world champion in Madison, one who's actually may or may not be on a Magic card that everyone knows, a person who may or may not already be huge events for a huge company around the U.S. last year as a judge, someone with a judging who's level 5 judge, all laughing at me because they all know who Mike Long is. Mike, why is it so funny? Like, oh, he's the biggest cheater of all time. He cheated on camera to win the world championships. But whatever, really cool deck, so I loved it. Been trying to play it ever since. So when I found out PreModern was actually a format a few weeks ago, this is the first deck I built. So you see a bunch of sign cards here. You have an awesome Drain Life, you have Prosperity, Natural Balance, Squander Resources, and Cadaverous Bloom. And so, to be competitive in this, which people have said this is not a competitive deck, so we may or may not prove them wrong, you want to be able to find some ways to get out your key cards for a 4-card combo. So we have 4 Enlightened Tutors, and then we have the usual kind of card draw. So 4 Impulse and 4 Sleight of Hand. And so I actually think this is an okay way to kind of shuffle through your deck. I played a lot with Portent and a lot of other cards, but making this kind of 5 colors or 4 colors just makes it seem very consistent. It's kind of going off on turn 3, 4, or 5, which is a big gap, but you know, it's pre-modern. And so one really cool thing too is when in addition to Prosperity, in case you can't find it in time, is Skeletal Scrying. This card is awesome after going off once or twice with Prosperity alone, and you can use the black cards in your hand and the cards in your graveyard that you sack to natural resources to refill your hand a little bit more. And since it's not a for sure combo that finishes for sure every time you go off, I have cards like Diabolic Tutor to go find the card you need whenever you need it. And then I also have an alternate win condition in Stormseeker and Elven Cache. So you actually Stormseeker them for anywhere between 10 and 19 cards in their hand for your prosperities. Flash, go get Elven Cache, get back to Stormseeker, and do it to them again. Pretty awesome if they have a way to deal with your Drain Life, or if you already use your Drain Life on a Melee Mage, etc. And so a lot of times you're running into some problematic decks that run counterspells. So I'm running 3 City of Solitude main deck opposed to bringing them in from the side. Then you have the basic breakdown of the different lands. You have islands, swamps, forests, which you need for natural resources. And then you have the 8 different kind of multicolored lands. You have the classic Gemstone Mine and the City of Brass. All this is absolutely fantastic. Is it the greatest deck of all time? Yes, maybe it is. Is it super competitive? Who knows? But that's actually the best part about working with pre-modern is a lot of decks are former standard decks or extended decks, etc. that can use some upgrading, either in skill set or just kind of understanding the card pool. So what we'll do is actually head over onto the sideboard. So I think this is kind of where really the deck really separates itself. So first off we have is 3 Duress. That I think is pretty standard. A couple people in the pre-modern community did a really cool breakdown of some of the top cards that are played right now, and Duress is definitely one of them. So you definitely don't want to leave home without your Duresses. I also have 4 Elfin Grass, not only because they're assigned, but they're so good at soaking up resources, specifically against mid-range decks that need to attack and cast cards to actually win. You are too scared about using up your resources because you can just dump all your cards in hand onto the battlefield once you kind of need to all in one turn, with Cadaverous Bloom, with Squandered Resources, with Natural Balance, etc. Then, because we have Enlightened Tutors, we have a few Silver Bullets, we have Energy Flux, we have Engineered Plague, we have Felden's Cane. This is really good against life gain decks, or decks that are really going to be problematic for kind of dealing damage somehow, is you can actually just cast Felden's Cane and just keep looping Prosperities over and over again so that you actually deck them and you don't deck yourself. And then because enchantments are so prevalent, we have 4 Naturalize. So many problematic permanents in pre-modern are actually artifacts and enchantments, so it just gives you a fighting chance. And the last one is Planner Void, which is very new. I know a lot of people are kind of interested in this, but it's just awesome to grab off of a Enlightened Tutor. It does kind of hurt your game plan a little bit with Elven Cache or Skeletal Scrying, but to be able to just blow out so many decks with these kind of Silver Bullet Enlightened Tutor targets just really gives you a fighting chance to get to turns 4, 5, 6, and 7, where you can just start taking over the game with City of Solitude, having all your enchantments in play, and then just going through your deck, lickety split. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you enjoyed the stories, and really looking forward to playing some pre-modern on webcam sometime soon. And don't forget to check out our sponsors. As you can see here, RypieMTGAlters on Twitch, or check out his Etsy, RypieMTGAlters. Also check out Star Is It Magic on Facebook and Instagram, and Is It Star on YouTube. She does some awesome giveaways and some really cool videos and stuff like that, so definitely recommend checking these people out.